Florida prosecutors have formally stated that the men who are suspected of killing musician Foolio may be put to death, judging by the heated environment in the courtroom.
They got so much evidence against them, like when you go through it, you can pretty much just, all right, pick a prison. What do y'all want?
Let's dissect this trial, since there is a lot going on. The suspects are reportedly already beginning to accept their destiny, and some are even exhibiting brief moments of grief in court. The crippling anxiety that Foolio's murderers would lose their lives. Charles Jones, who is more famous to millions, as Julio Foolio, had just turned 26, instead of celebrating another year alive. The rapper, who is well known for his unvarnished lyrics and strong gang ties, walked directly into a premeditated trap that killed him and left 3 others injured. From the beginning, investigators believed it to be an execution, a hit sanctioned by a gang, and the last act in a turf war that had been brewing in Jacksonville's underworld for years. Foolio was a cornerstone of 6th Block A, the music of a TK and 1200, 2 of the city's most aggressive cliques. May have shielded him for a while, but on that muggy Tampa night, the streets caught up to him. 5 names were quickly added to the suspect list by the police, and by the end of July, 3 of them had been arrested as part of a combined task force that included Jacksonville deputies and Tampa Police Department. Sean Gathright, age 18, Isaiah Chance, age 21, and Alicia Andrews, age 21. A SWAT squad cornered Rashad Murphy, age 30, in Jacksonville, following a furious altercation with the last suspect. Devin Murphy avoided the dragnet for months after a tenacious 6-month manhunt until he was captured by authorities in January 2025. The most serious charges in Florida are being brought against each of them. The conspiracy allegations of premeditated first-degree murder portrayed them as masterminds who followed Foolio's every move before hitting. So the state wasn't playing around, and Uncle Sam wasn't the message either. Quick and brutal. Blood for blood. When prosecutors pledged to seek the death penalty against 3 of them in October 2024, the stakes went even higher. Chance and Rashad Murphy weren't onlookers. They were the ones who pulled the trigger. The violence of the CCTV film showed 3 masked shooters with rifles and pistols blazing as they trapped a man who never had a chance. The faces on camera unleashed a volley of bullets at Foolio's car. State Attorney Susie Lopez didn't hold back when speaking to the media. "We will clearly show that you bear the same responsibility as the gunman if you arrange a murder." Fans on Reddit saw it coming a mile away, and people criticized Foolio's hit strategy in the comments sections. One user went so far as to describe their 3.5 hours of driving in a pattern that was more akin to a blown James Bond operation, involving shell catchers than a regular practice. They made sure everything was executed perfectly and added another element of intentional murder. Because the public's judgment supported the prosecutors, this was a message kill. While Rashad Murphy and Gathright Chance get ready for a possible needle, and the state gets ready to make an example of them all, one suspect waits in a different corner of this mayhem. According to the police, Alice Andrews was the lookout who followed Foolio around and texted the gunman to let them know what was happening. She was taken off the death row list, but there was a catch to her arrest in July 2024. She was expecting a child. Her attorney hurried to have a swift trial set for January 2025 when the revelation was made public in court in September. But he abandoned her defense only 1 week before it began. Rashad Murphy, a suspected lead shooter and notorious 1,200 hitter, threw a curveball in January 2025 when he dismissed his whole defense staff, dismissing their strategy, regardless of why the trial was postponed. Rumors of disagreements between Andrews and her legal team were circulating in the meantime. Her unborn kid is now a problematic wrinkle in an already dire case. And as of April 2025, she is in limbo while a new attorney tries to put things right. He would protect himself. Given the abundance of evidence, including surveillance, phone pings, license scans, and other papers that connect him to the scene. This is such a rash gamble that it is almost unheard of in a capital murder prosecution. Rashad is placing a wager that, by himself, he can fool seasoned prosecutors. Murphy is testing his own courtroom skills as his trial date in April 2026 draws near. His trial was initially set for September 2024, but due to paperwork disputes between Hillsborough and Duval counties, it was postponed. And lastly, the last player. Rashad's blood cousin Davon Murphy, 27, was the final domino to fall. As the heat increased, he eluded the authorities for 6 months until being surrounded by U.S. Marshals and SWAT in January 2025 at a Jacksonville apartment on Label Street. Prosecutors and Dobbins charged him in court of being a shooter as ruthless as Rashad and Gathite. A court refused to grant him release on January 14th, stating that he posed a risk to public safety. Waited for a bond hearing 2 days after the initial court date, but the plot took a turn for the worse. Devon assaulted a jail officer while he was detained, according to a leaked report. The details are not disclosed in court filings, but as of April 2025, that incident might be a major factor against a jury. The vicious power play that led to Foolio's murder on June 23, 2024, was not an isolated incident. Rather, it was the culmination of years of planning, with rival gangs, retribution attacks, and street retaliation well embedded in Jacksonville culture. Instead of a spontaneous impulse, it was a carefully planned precision kill, complete with text trials and digital breadcrumbs that predicted the death of a 26-year-old man who should have been blowing out candles, instead of struggling to breathe behind tinted car windows.
Got me drinking, I don't even drink,
Foolio had plenty of adversaries. The mere mention of his name generated controversy ranging from internet comment wars to the dark corners of Jacksonville. He enjoyed teasing defeated opponents in his tracks, revealing true names, identifying locations, and daring anyone to check him so carelessly. A Tampa holiday in a parking lot became the gruesome stage where a long-running dispute ended in death. And Fio's birthday party, instead of blowing out candles, became a trap. His boldness propelled his ascent in drill culture, but his unrestrained disobedience also made him a target. Fio landed in Tampa on June 21st, giddy with anticipation for his birthday weekend. As usual, he flaunted everything for his fans on his Instagram story, including strip clubs, VIP lounges, and luxury suites. He had no idea that ravenous eyes were following every post and location. Tag.
Start the day at 5, 6 o'clock. If you already got the address, pull up, man. You got the address, pull up. If you need the address, DM me right now. The pool party start at 5, 6 o'clock. DM me for the address or DM Foolio booking ESPN.
To lookouts were already following him. Alicia Andrews and Isaac Chance, both 21 years old, were members of Jacksonville's infamous ATK set, according to court filings. With a direct line to Rashad Murphy, a famous 1200 hitter, and his younger muscle, they weren't just lurking. They were a live feed for the hits. On June 22nd, surveillance caught Davon Murphy, Sean Chance, and Andrews outside the teasers for the evening's Fio location at the Gentlemen's Club. Instead of going inside, they watched from the shadows, keeping tabs on everything they did. Andrews acted as the eyes, tapping coded updates on encrypted applications. Chance stuck at her side, sending everything back to the shooters. But Gathright and the Murphy cousins weren't busting bottles. They loaded up a 9mm and 2 firearms with enormous magazines because they came to destroy him, not to scare him. Tag scanning identified a silver Toyota Camry. Rashad Murphy's car takes a ride from Jacksonville to Tampa that night. Murphy and Dave met in a stash house in Sulphur Springs to complete the hit that would murder Fio. Eventually, ballistics revealed that the casings from Foolio's murder matched a previous shooting linked to 1,200 turf beefs. demonstrating that this was a gang run for payback rather than a last-minute conspiracy. Even in the early hours of June 23rd, Foolio continued to appear. As he streamed live recordings and hidden Exall Lounge on Instagram, his followers showered him with heart-shaped emoticons. And Andrew followed him wherever they went next. The checkmate maneuver was to take him to a Holiday Inn near the University of South Florida. At 3:45 a.m., Andrews allegedly got in touch with Murphy, with the hotel's exact drop-off location. Towers also pinned Chance nearby around 4:37 a.m., lingering near the location. Foolio was sitting in a Dodge Durango outside the front doors of the hotel, relaxing, when the kill team pulled up in the Camry and slid into the lot. A second whip. A black sedan followed shortly after. Tampa had just woken up. He was accompanied by two boys and his cousin, who were unaware that death was only a few seconds away. Devin broke out of split angles and started shooting, destroying the Durango with over 40 rounds in less than 20 seconds. He died there, and his group was converted into a shooting squad. The gut, head, and chest. One survived, but the others took the lead. It was a battle zone, he later told police, with glass flying, tires popping, people yelling, and the gunmen swiftly fleeing in both cars. According to the police, it was a clean break to muddle the digital trail, not an accident. They received frantic calls from hotel guests who had woken up to gunfire within minutes. They discovered glass splattered everywhere, bullet shells strewn like confetti, and Foolio dead in the front seat. Later, Davon disappeared in the car Andrews and Chance were driving toward I-4, while Murphy's Camry was seen speeding down I-275 Gathright. Hours before, he had been grinning for selfies and bragging about his birthday. Now, all of his involvement in the same gang fight was exposed when the charges were released. CCTV captures 18-year-old Sean Gathright squeezing gun rounds off his purse. Thin body, the master spotter, Alicia Andrews, sealed the plot with her encrypted pings to Murphy's. The oldest and ringleader, Rasad Murphy, unloaded the second weapon while operating the Camry. Isaac Chance's looks fed the beast, but he didn't pull a trigger. Devin Murphy, his blood-related, shot the 9mm point into the Durango. And they moved like clockwork, coldly locking in a lethal dot. Which is why the answer was carved in every bar he spewed and every battle he danced with. To understand why, a rapper died in a Tampa parking lot. Let's go back 10 years to Jacksonville's violent turf lines, where pride, retribution, and territory breed bloodshed. There were funerals and headlines since there was an open conflict between the initials K and Sochi, not just gang squabbling. Bodies were buried as a result of a feud amongst crown drill artisans. Foolio grew up on the tough north side of Jacksonville, long before he ever handled a microphone. The boy who is now known as Foolio was devastated by the tragic shooting death of his cousin, Zion Brown, in 2017. He turned pain into swagger and suffering into poetry. And he benefited from the city's misery. However, Foolio courageously wore that mark and killed them all because in Jacksonville, being famous may be a death sentence. Was not a rap group, but a battle cry, and his fortress was 6 blocks distant. At TK, they are enemies. Bullets were the actual money, but Ace's best killers, led by Deep and Young Ace, spewed cruel bars with 1,200 ties. Foolio called names, made fun of graves, and threatened to take revenge at the funeral of Adrian Gaynor of ATK, in response to ATX's refusal to keep quiet. Young Ace taunted him with Who I Smoke, a warped pop parody that listed KTA deaths. Streets became bloodier as a result of this song, which was adored by the internet. Songs were hits in real life, not only on the charts. The conflict erupted in the late 2010s after smoldering for years. More than 30 bodies, young hustlers, aspiring rappers, innocent associates. and a metropolis transformed into a battlefield were all part of the KTA-ATK rivalry, which raged from 2017 until 2024. Foolio, the chief opponent, was aware of this and experienced it. He was hit by a bullet in 2018 that passed through Monreef and into his leg. Instead of hiding it, a few hours later he posted a picture of the bandage on Instagram with a caption. Instead of remaining silent, he channeled his brush with death. Into his next, blow one more gunshot with a beat saying, "All this money on my head, I'm supposed to be dead."
I walked through the cut, and I'll say probably like 5-10 minutes later, somebody pop out the cut, go to shoot, and boom, boom, boom. I got hit on my hip, and my hip popped out of place, and I was just crawling, looking back, looking at him still shooting.
Breathed by a credo chiseled in grief and loyalty. Despite his loved ones' entreaties for him to quit prodding the hornet's nest. In 2020, 2 years after that initial gunshot wound, the firing resurfaced, and the gunman once more blazed his automobile with shots. However, Foolio survived the ordeal again, and a few days later, he made the near-death encounter a new bar on the list of dead ops, teasing his hitters to come and complete the task. The cycle did not end. Even if that mouthpiece ended up in a coffin, the street fights just become more fierce in 2021. Foolio's right-hand guy and well-known KTA player, Kenneth Sue McKinnon, was detained and convicted of murder. In his lyrics, Foolio parodied the real-life death of a dream baby gainer. Foolio became 6 Block's last rap flag bearer and gained even more notoriety when KSU's lockup utterly shattered Kate's ranks. But a TK2 suffered losses, and in 2020, Charles Lilbeck McCormack, one of their young foot soldiers, was slain. Rumor has it that KTA fired in this area of fighting, but no one was killed or buried. By 2023, every murder guaranteed revenge. And every grave fueled another diss tune, another Instagram tirade, and another night of gunfire echoing along Monreef. And Myrtle A, that October, Foolio nearly lost all 9 of his lives in Jacksonville's Riverside neighborhood. He was shot almost 100 times by the shooter, who gave him a single skull kiss before he fled, still breathing and terrified.
Good job. Shot me, but didn't kill me. I'm Kendrick.
But something changed. His inner circle shrank. He kept fewer people near to him and strolled more in the shadows. His bars took on darker rhythms that sounded like voodoo, dripping with paranoia, treachery, and restless nights. Even though he was now the target of a bullseye from the same social media platform that made him famous, Foolio was back online by early 2024, mocking his competitors and dropping pins. It was true that Foolio never pretended to be anything else. He was shaped by war, lived through it for years, and eventually perished in the line of fire, unrepentant. To some, that defiance made him a legend, while to others, it made him a walking corpse.
Oh, my daddy, stop playing with me, and I didn't get hit. I got grazed in the leg.
The days after Foolio's murder, street rumors and online threats were common, and ATK fans flooded comment sections linking the hit. Too young and Ace. One user bluntly posted, "There's no hard proof tying Ace directly to the murder, and his name is nowhere in the indictments, but the rumor mill won't rest." Ace got his lick back, nodding to Ace's own brush with death in 2018. Many people still believe that the Fed's top player orchestrated the whole chessboard move between Young and Ace, nearly a year after the Tampa parking lot hit that killed. Foolio at 26 stands. Brutal end to a battle between Foolio's KTA, a breed derived from 6 Block pride, and Ace's ATKAC top killers that lasted for 6 years. Even with suspects in jail, the buzz is maintained by cryptic jabs, questionable posts, and ongoing police inspection. As of April 6, 2025, no fresh evidence has cleared or pinned Ace. In a widely shared video from July 2024, a man wearing a mask claimed to have helped remove Foolio, although Foolio's critics thought the puppet master was never touched. The mystery guy, wearing a ski mask and an orange beanie. Admitted on video to putting gasoline on a fire that no one could extinguish.
Everything I love, bro. On the dead homies, bro. I put it on everything on my soul, on my kids. I'm the one that smacked Foolio that night when he got dropped at his birthday celebration, bro.
This unsubstantiated confession sparked rumors, but without official law enforcement confirmation. It remains an intriguing yet inconclusive piece of the puzzle. More shockingly, he claimed that young Gene Ace had placed a $10,000 reward on Fio's head, saying, "I rock with Ace and those boys Ace had done. So Ace put that $10,000 up and told me to slide." The man, whose identity is still unknown, expressed no remorse and framed the killing as a transactional act rather than a gang-driven vendetta. Anyone who wanted to steal the bread took it once Ace set it up. Ace's actions after Foolio's death only heightened suspicions. Ace published a music video for his song "Do It" hours after the murder, with lyrics like "They called my phone," said they got the low eye, instructed them to do so. The other images, such as a mass shooting on a car and 2 King Lots days later on June 28, 2024. With lines like 5 in the morning, I got a call, dead on arrival, Mr. 6, were uncannily similar to the Tampa shooting in terms of timing and circumstances. Ace then ridiculed Fio's passing on Instagram Live in July, calling his opponent that sad twin in passing before asserting that they had been fine, and that he had asked Fio to keep out of the way. Many questioned Ace's genuineness because of the discrepancy between his claims and his diss tracks, as well as his denials.
That sad, twin. I ain't gonna lie, bro. Y'all boys in the street, y'all didn't leave the streets alone, twin. I'll condone.
In a subsequent interview with DJ Academics, he promised to stop disparaging Foolio, saying, "No, can't be doing that about the dead." He also recalled previous attempts to establish a connection, such as asking Fio to play basketball, an offer that was allegedly turned down. But these assertions conflict with his post-murder conduct and their rivalry, which began in 2017. A cycle of retaliation began that year when Fio's cousin Zion Brown was assassinated, allegedly by an AB associate. Their animosity was solidified in 2011, when 20 survived a shooting that claimed the lives of his brother and 2 others. The incident was naively ridiculed online. The diss tracks "Who I Smoke" by Ace and "When I See You" by Fio, which were lyrical jabs at each other's shortcomings, made their feud a public spectacle in 2021. Young Ace has been closely monitored by law authorities. At a July 2024 press conference after the arrest of 3 suspects, Sean Gathright, Saya Chance, and Alicia Andrews, Tampa Police Chief Lee Burkaw and Jacksonville Sheriff T. Waters identified the group as TK and 1,200 affiliates, gangs connected to Ace, even though no charges had been brought against him as of April 2025. The state is pursuing the death sentence for all but Andrews after 2 other suspects, Rashad and Davon Murphy, were subsequently captured. Police mentioned Ace in their testimony on Devin Murphy's gang affiliations during his January 2025 bond hearing, citing Ace's songs "Who I Smoke" and "Game Over" as proof of the feud's demise. According to Sheriff Waters, young Gene Ace has a long history in Jacksonville. Although we continuously keep an eye on those organizations, we refrained from directly accusing him.
Ace has long been known in Jacksonville. We are consistently monitoring those groups. We have people that are always watching them.
The police's focus suggests they haven't ruled him out for FIO's fans, so they don't need any more proof nearly a year later. But Ace's position is still speculative because there isn't any concrete evidence linking him to the murder. Beyond the mystery man's unverified assertion, Ace developed both off-screen and online by condemning the guy responsible for their idols passing on social media platforms like Aziva's, publishing charges against him, and labeling him a hypocrite for expressing grief for Foolio while abandoning